Hello and welcome to part 5 on how to create the Reddit UI with ReactJS. In this part I will show you how to create the posts. I'm going to create the structure for our post, which I will do by using a grid. I'm going to create the sidebar, title and the footer. So let's get started. So to get started, I'm going to add some data into our source folder. I'm going to create a new folder in our data folder named posts, and I'm going to put the post.json in there. And I have already created this JSON file, and I'm just going to paste it in right here. This JSON file contains posts with images and without images. So this is what we will be using. And I have also added some images in our public folder, 2 images which we will be using in the posts. So if you want to follow along, you can pull the repository from GitHub, which is in the description. So next up, I'm going to create the post model. I'm going to copy over the posts, and I'm going to go into our models and create a post model. So I'm going to say post, which will contain the post model, like so. And then I will create the model. I want to create an export interface post, and it has a title, an upvote, comments, a subreddit, which is of type subreddit, like so, and a username for the person who posted this post. And then we have an optional image source. So if the post has an image, it might have that property, which is a string. And then to make it optional, I'm going to add the question mark. And we also have an optional description. So sometimes we only want a title, sometimes we also have a description. So that is a second optional attribute. And I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to save this post model, like so. And then I'm going to get started by opening up the browser. And I have already started up the development server, and I have opened up the Reddit front page right here. So I'm just going to get started with creating the first post. So to do that, I'm going to use a grid. So I'm going to go into our components, then in the landing, the content. Then we have the main bar, and right here we want our post in the main bar. So I think this is from the filter container. So here we want to have our post, and I'm actually going to create a separate file for the posts. So I'm going to say post. I'm going to say post.tsx and post.css. I'm going to import React and import the styles, like so. And I'm going to return just a simple div which says I am posts, exclamation mark, like so. And then I want to import the posts right here, posts, like so. And I'm going to save this up, and now it starts compiling. And after it's done compiling, we can refresh the page and we will see our post appearing right here. So that looks really neat. I am next going to import the JSON into our post. So I'm going to say import data, and then posts, and then post.json, like so. And I'm going to say import post from, so we can access it as a variable. And then I want to render each post inside of here. So this will be the posts wrapper. And then right here we are going to have a single post. Class name equals post. And then I'm going to say that I want to render the post for each item in our list from posts that we have. So I'm going to say post.map post index, and I want to return the single post, like so. And if I save this up and refresh the page, we won't see anything because the div is empty right now. So if I say post, we will see a post appearing 4 times because we have 4 posts. So I'm now going to show you how to access the variable. We will do that by saying post.title, like so. And if I save this up, we will see the titles of all our posts. So that's really good. We already have the data inside of here. Now we want to style it. And to style it, I'm going to create a grid. So if I look at the post, I see a side section with the upvotes, a title section, a body, and a footer section. So that is what I'm going to create. I'm going to create a grid in the post. So I'm going to say .post wrapper.post, and I want to say display as a grid, like so. And next I want to create templates for our grid. So I want to say grid template areas, like so. And I want to define a couple of areas. So we are going to use a 2D grid, and we will have the sidebar, so that will be post sidebar. Then we will have the post title, and then on the next line we will have our post sidebar again, and then we have our post body, and then on the last item we will have a post sidebar and our post footer, like so. So right now we have 3 or 4 different sections. We have the title, body, footer, and the sidebar. And as you can see, on the left side we constantly have our sidebar, and on the right side we have the title, body, footer. So this represents our actual component. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to assign those areas to our post. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to create the different sections. I'll start by creating the post sidebar, like so. And then I want to create the post title, body, and footer. So this will be the title, body, and footer. And then I'm going to assign those classes to the grid areas. So I'm going to say post wrapper, post, and I want to target the sidebar. And I'm going to say grid area is post sidebar. And I'm going to do the same for the title, body, and the footer, like so. And then the footer right here. So right now we won't actually see anything yet, but if we open up our browser and we select the elements right here, we will see that we have a post wrapper with inside of it a post with a sidebar, title, body, and footer. So that's really good. What I want to do next is I want to assign a background for it, so it will become more clear which section is where. So I will give the sidebar a purple background, the title a green background, the body blue one, and the footer maybe yellow or something, like so. But as you can see, the colors are not displaying. That is because our grid doesn't have any width or height. So I want to say in our grid we have a width of 100%, and then I want to give the size of the columns. So I'm going to say grid template columns, and we have 2 columns. We have the sidebar and then the right column. So the sidebar will be 1 fractional unit, and the rest of the components will be 10 fractional units, like so. And then I want to define the size of the rows for the column, or the rows for the grid. So I'm going to say grid template rows, and I want that to be let's see, 1 fr and an auto and a 1 fr, like so. So the reason why it is still not working correctly is because I misspelled the class name right here. So this should be post wrapper, like so. And as you can see, we now have the sidebar right here, title, body, and footer. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of margin between each post. So I want to say margin of 10 pixels vertically and 0 pixels horizontally. So now we have a little bit of spacing in each post. And I'm going to say that we want a min height, or actually I'm not going to give it a min height. I'm going to start by creating the side section right here. We want a up arrow, the amount of upvotes, and then a down arrow. So I'm firstly going to import those 2 in our post file. So I'm going to say import upward arrow icon from material icons / upward arrow upward, like so. I think I have to change this arrow upward icon like so. And I want to import the arrow downward as well. So arrow downward icon from material UI icons, and then arrow downward, yes, like so. And then I'm going to import those two right here in the sidebar. So I'm going to say arrow upward icon and arrow downward icon. I'm going to save this up and look at how it looks in the browser. So as you can see, they are displaying next to each other. That's not what I want. I want to display them beneath each other. And I also want to display the number of upvotes. So I'm going to create a span already. And I'm going to say that we want to render the post and then the upvotes, which is a variable inside of our object. So right now we see the upvotes and we see the arrow, but they are not displaying nicely beneath each other. So I'm going to fix that by applying a flex display. So I want to say that we have the post sidebar right here, and I'm going to say that we have a display of flex. Then it looks like this, and I want to say flex direction of column like so, and I want to center them, so justify content center. And they are not centering because we aren't giving them the full width, I think. So I'm going to give the flex of 1. So that is not the problem. The problem is that I use justify content, which is centering horizontally. But since we're rendering them in a column, we want to center them actually vertically. To do that, I'm going to say align item center, and then we can remove the flex 1. And if I save this up, we can see that we are centering them vertically and horizontally. And then I want to decrease the size of the sidebar a little bit. So I think I want to say that the main bar has to be 12 fractional units, like so. And then I want to make the icons a little bit more grayish. So I'm going to look if I'm using that color elsewhere. I think that the search icon also has this color. So I'm going to go into the search bar that is in the nav bar right here. And for the search bar icon we have this color, and I'm going to say that we want the post wrapper, post sidebar, and then the SVG in the side of it to have a color of RGB 130, so it looks like this. And I maybe want to make it even a little bit darker, so 100, like so. And then I want to make it have a very light gray background. So for the background in the post sidebar, I'm going to say instead of purple, RGB 245, like so. And then I'm going to say that I want to make the font size of the amount of upvotes a little bit smaller and more heavy. So I'm going to say that I want to target the span inside of it. Span. And I'm going to say font weight of 600 and a font size of 14 pixels. And if I save this up, it will become a little bit smaller, and maybe even 30 pixels. Yes. And then we have a little bit heavier font weight and a little bit smaller. And then I want to make the hover effect on the icons. So an upvote will become red and the downvote will become blue. So I'm going to say when we hover over the SVG, SVG and then hover, I want to give it a background color of red. So I'm going to say red, green, blue, like so. And then if I hover over this one, we will see the background become red. And I actually want to make the color red, not the background. So now the color becomes red, like so. And when we hover over the downward button, we want it to become the primary color. So I want to say that we want to target the first SVG right here. So I'm going to say SVG first child. And for the second one, I want to target the SVG last child. And actually, instead of doing that, I want to just say that we will give this a class name of upvote and a class name of downvote. So this will become more clear. So I can just say that we want to target the upvote and right here we want to target the downvote, and then we want to make it, instead of red, we want to use our primary color, so that will be primary color, like so. And now when we hover over this one, it will become blue, and if you hover over that one, it will become red. Then I want to create a little bit of a background to the icon, so I'm going to say that when we hover over it in general, which will be this one, svg hover, I want the background color to become RGB, and then something like 200, like so. And if we hover over it, we will see a nice little background appearing, and it's maybe too dark, maybe 220. And I also want to add a border to the background, so I'm going to say border radius of 5 pixels, something like that. Yes, and as you can see, we now have a nice little border. I think 5 pixels is even too much, so I'm going to say 2 pixels, like so. And then I want to have it a little bit of padding or a little bit of margin from the top, so I'm going to say sidebar, and then I want to say margin top of 10 pixels, like so. And I actually want to change that to padding. Yes. So now we have a little bit of padding from the top. I actually want to decrease the padding to 5 pixels, like so. And then I want to continue with creating the title section of the card. So for the title section, I have an image, the subreddit, the posted by text, and then the user, and then a join button at the right. So I'm going to go into the title, and we will have an image, like so. We will have the subreddit name, so that will be r/ and then the subreddit name. We will have posted by, and then the user, u/ and then the username. And then at the end we want our join button, so I'm going to create a div with the class name of spacer, and then we want a button. I'm going to import it from our previous location, and I want to say that this is a primary button, which it is actually by default, so I'm just going to add a label, which will be plus join, like so. And I want to close the quoting tags. So if I save this up, I see that I made a little mistake. I still have to close the div right here. So if I save this up and refresh the page, we will see that we have our components right here, but they are not displaying next to each other, but underneath each other, or at least the button is. So I'm going to fix that next. I'm going to fix the post title. So I'm going to say post wrapper post title, and I want to say display of flags. So if I save this, we will see that everything is aligning nicely. And then I want to add the subreddit image. So right here I'm going to say source equals, and then post.subreddit.image source, like so. And then I want to make the image a lot smaller, so I'm going to say post title, which I already have right here. And then the image that we have in here, I want to give it a width of 16 pixels, a height of 16 pixels. And I'm actually going to use the min and max again, so it won't get disformed. Max width and max height, like so. And then I want to make it border radius of 50%. And then I want to center it, so I'm also going to add a align items centered right here, so everything is nicely centered. And then I want to add a little bit of margin to the left, so I'm going to say that we want our image to have a margin left of 5 pixels, like so. Then I want the span, which will be the subreddit span, and I want to use the post.subreddit.name, like so. And if I save this up, we will see our subreddit name, which is Ask Reddit right here. And I want to give it a little bit of margin left as well. So instead of giving it to the span, I'm actually going to give it to the image, and I'm going to say margin, and I want to give it a horizontal margin of 5 pixels, like so. So right now we have our image with the margins. I want to decrease the size of the subreddit, and I want to make the font weight a little bit bold. So I'm going to target it by saying class name is subreddit name, like so. And then I'm going to target it right here. Dot subreddit name. And I actually want to, no, this is good. I want to make a font weight of 600 and a font size of 13 pixels, the same as the sidebar. So that looks good, I think. Maybe it's too big, 12 pixels maybe. That might be too small, or, well, no, that looks good. Then I want to post it by, so I'm going to say that we have the class name equals post user, and I want to put the username right here. So I'm going to say post dot username, which is right here, and then I want to give that a little bit of padding to the left and the same size as the Reddit text, and I want to make it a little bit grayish. So I'm going to say in our post, instead of this, I want our post, what was it, user? Yes, post user, font weight of normal, I think, but the font size of 12 pixels, like so. Yes, and we want to give it a little bit of padding to the left, padding left of 5 pixels. And if I save this up, we will see that it is spaced out from the subreddit name. And then I want to make it a little bit grayish, so I'm going to say color RGB, and then I want to say 200, something like that. And to view it clearer, I'm going to make the background white right here, or I'm actually going to remove the background, so it will be white by default, like so. Okay, it is not white by default, so I'm going to actually put a background on the post itself, since we are using the background in the title, body and description. So right here I'm going to say background color of white, and then we will see our white background being applied. And I see that the dark color, or the gray color, is too light, so I'm going to say 150, and it looks already a lot better. And then when we hover over the r/ask Reddit, I want to make an underline appear. And when we hover over the username, I want to make the username have an underscore. So I'm actually going to create another span for the post user, and I'm going to remove the class from here, so that we can target this separately, because we only want the hoverable effect on the u/. So I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to remove that. And then when I refresh the page, we will see posted by, and we also want that to become small. So I'm going to say class name equals post user, and I'm actually going to give this a underline, so that only this will have the underline effect. Oh, so it doesn't like that. Oh, the reason is because I wrote class name with a small n. So right now it is working. And I want to add the underlines to our user and Reddit. So in my post.css, I'm going to target the user section, and I want to say when we hover over the post user, we will target the underline. So I'm going to say underline, and I want to say text decoration of underline, like so. And then when we hover over the user, we will see nothing appearing. So the reason why it is not working is because I added the post user effect. So I want to actually put the hover effect on the underline class. So if I put it like so, it will look for the post which has an underline, and then it will put the text decoration on the underline element, which is only the user. So if I hover over it, we will see that we can underline when we hover over the user. And I'm going to do the same for the Reddit section. So that one is the post upvotes, that one is the Reddit subreddit name. So I'm going to look where I put the subreddit name, which is right here. and then I want to target it and say hover, and I'm going to give the text declaration of underline, like so. And if I refresh this page, we will see that we have an underline when we hover over it. And I actually want to give it a mouse of cursor as well. And if I look at the post, I can see that everywhere where I hover, I have a cursor of pointer. So I'm going to just apply it to the whole post. I'm going to say the post wrapper, the post hover cursor pointer, like so. And if I refresh this page, I will see that everywhere where I come, I will have the cursor of pointer. So that's good. So next I want to make the button a lot smaller, and I want to move it a little bit from the top and the right section. So the button is right here, and it has a class name of button. So I'm going to target it by saying button, and I'm going to go into our post title, dot post wrapper, post title, and then I want to target the button, and I want to say that I have a margin of margin right, oh no, just a margin of 10 pixels, like so. But I misspelled the post, so I have to add a space to this, and then we will see that we have a little spacing from the right and the top, so that's really good. But as you can see, the padding inside of the button is a lot bigger than right here, and that is because that is our own button. So I'm going to remove the padding for this button. I'm going to say that I only want a padding of 5 pixels, and as you can see, we have a smaller button right now, and I actually want to make the padding horizontally bigger, so that will be 8 pixels, like so. And I want to make the text a little bit smaller, and I want to make the padding vertically actually a little bit smaller, so I'm going to say font size of 14 pixels, so that's maybe too big, 11 pixels, something like that. So right now the button is a lot smaller, just like right here, and I actually want to decrease the padding at the top a little bit, and at the left actually as well, so I'm going to say 8 pixels instead of 10, so it looks like this. So now we have our top section, which we can hover over it, and just like with the Reddit, we can hover over it. So next I'm going to create the footer section. The footer section will contain a comments, a share, a save, and a triple dot button. So I'm going to create that first. I'm going to say div, and this will have a class name of comments, like so. Then we will have the share button with the text next to it, so share. Then we will have a save button, and then we will have the triple dots button, but we won't be needing any text for that, so I'm just going to import that one as an icon. So for the comments, I'm going to use the mode comment icon. I'm going to say import mode comment icon from material UI icons mode comment, and then we have the let's see, the share and the save. So I'm going to say share icon from share, save will be the bookmark icon from book, like so. And then we're going to import the triple dot icon, so more horis icon from material UI icon slash more horis, like so. And I'm going to use icons, so the mode icon will be right here. Then we will have the share icon right here. Then we have the bookmark icon, like so. And then at the end we will have the let's see, more horis icon. And if I save this up and refresh the page, we will see our icons being applied. So the first thing I notice is that the icons are all vertically stacked, so you already know how to fix this, I think, but I will show you. It will be this, and then the footer, so I'm actually going to put it beneath this one, footer, and then we are going to say display flags, like so, and then we will get everything not next to each other. So I forgot the dot, like so, and I think it is even post footer, yes, like so. and I actually don't want it inside of the post title, so my mistake, like so. Yes, okay, so now we have everything horizontally, and I want to add a little bit of spacing to the left, and I want to decrease the height of this. So I'm first going to add a little bit of spacing to the left, so I'm going to say padding left of 5 pixels, like so. And then I want to make the background white, or actually I'm going to remove the background color, which is right here. Oh, and I actually created the post footer right here already, so instead of recreating it right here, I'm just going to put this code inside of here, so we won't have any duplicate classes. And I'm actually going to do the same for the post title, otherwise we will create the two classes again. So that is not good practice. You only want to create a class once and then assign everything to it, instead of creating this class here, assigning, and then at the bottom we are going to recreate that class. That's actually not what we want. So right now we have a white background, a little bit of padding to the left, and then I want to add a little bit of grayish color to the icons, and I'm going to add the text to the icons. So I'm first going to start with the text. I'm going to add a span right here, in the comments, in the share icon, and the bookmark icon. And in the comments we will say the amount of comments, so that will be item dot, or it was post dot comments, and then we will say space comments. Right here we have the share text, and then right here we have the save. So it looks like this. And then we want to center everything vertically, and we also want a little spacing between everything. So I'm first going to center everything vertically. So each icon right here will have a footer action class. So we'll add that to the comments, the share, and the save. And I can target that inside of our CSS. And then I want to say that post wrapper post footer icon, or I actually want to say that post footer and the footer icon, and I call it footer action, so that footer action, and I want to say display of flags, and then align items of center, like so. And then we also want this to align vertically centered, so I'm also going to add it to the default post footer. So up here we also have a post footer, and I want to say align items center, like so, and then that is also centered. And I want to make everything the same gray color, so in my post footer I'm just going to edit at the top element. I'm going to say color RGB, and then 150, 150, 150, something like that. And I think I want to make it the same color as the upvotes and downvotes, and for that we used let's see, the color 100. So I'm going to reuse it right here, like so. And actually that's maybe too dark, so I'm just going to set it to 130, and maybe I'm going to edit the icon from the upvote as well to 130, like so. Next I want to decrease the size of the icons and decrease the size of the text next to it. So I'm going to target the icons by saying that post footer, and then SVG, and I want to say font size of 14 pixels. So that already looks a lot better. I'm just going to say 16, so it looks a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to target the text next to it. So I'm going to target each span, I think. Yes. So that post wrapper, post footer, and then span, and I'm going to say font size of 14 pixels. And I'm going to add the S right here, and I think 14 pixels is good. I want to make it a little bit heavier, like so. And then I want to add the spacing between the icons and the text. So I'm going to say after each icon we want a margin right of 5 pixels, like so. And we also want a margin left, so I'm just going to say margin horizontally. So I'll do this by 0 pixels, 5 pixels, like this. But now our first icon has a margin left and the last icon has a margin right, which we don't want. So for those two, I'm going to target them by adding a class to it. I'm going to say that this will be the comment icon, and this will be the more icon. So now I can target those two by saying that post footer, and the comment icon is actually in the comments class. So right here I'm going to say dot comment and then that comment icon, and then a margin left of 0 pixels, and then I can target the more icon directly because it is not inside of a div. So I'm going to say dot more icon margin right of 0 pixels, like so. So now our first and last icon won't have a margin to the left or right, and I want to create the hoverable effect to the icons. So for the hoverable effect, I'm just going to change the background color. So when we hover over a icon, I want to change the background, and to do that, I'm going to say that we want to make this a footer action as well, I think. Yes, so if we make this a footer action as well, we will see that nothing is changing, but now we can target every icon by this name, or well, every icon inside of our footer. So I'm going to say that post wrapper post footer, and then the footer action, and I want to say when we hover over it, I want a background color of RGB 200, like so. And right now we will get a background color which is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more lightness, like so. And then I want to add a little bit of padding to it, or I mean border radius. So I'm going to say border radius of 5 pixels, like so. And then I want to add a little bit of padding to every icon. So before I'm going to do that, I'm going to fix the margin left on the icons. So okay, what I actually want to do is I want to give each icon which is next to a span a little bit of margin to the right, except for the last icon. So each icon that is next to a span is inside a footer action. So I'm going to say that right here where we have the margin on the icons, which is right here, I want to remove this, and I actually want to remove this as well. So now they are bigger and they have no margin again. So okay, that's good. And I'm going to say post wrapper post footer, and then I want to target every icon inside of our footer action. So I'm going to say that footer action and svg. So now we won't target the final icon. And then I want to say margin right of let's say 5 pixels. Okay. So if I save this and refresh the page, and I have to also add an S right here, and if I save this, you can see that we have a little bit of margin to the right on each icon. Okay, good. So that is working already. Now I want to decrease the size of every icon. So every icon is inside of our footer post footer class. Sometimes it is nested deeper, sometimes it is nested just directly under the footer. So to target every icon in the footer and even the nested ones, I'm going to say post wrapper post footer, and then I'm going to target the svg. So this targets every child, no matter how deep they are, and this targets the direct childs, so this targets only one level deep. So I want to target every child, and I want to say that we have a font size of 14 pixels, like so. And I want to increase that to 16 again, oh, not 64, 16, like so. And then I want to add a margin to the whole action section. So I call this footer action. So instead of adding the margin to the icon, I want to add it to the footer action. So I want to target the first footer action. I want to give it a margin right, the last footer action margin left, and in between we want to give them a margin left and right. So in my post footer, I'm going to call the footer action, and let's see, I already did that right here, and I want to give them a margin 0 pixel and then 5 pixels. And now I want to remove the margin from the first and the last child, and since the footer action is a direct child, I can now say that we want to target the first and last child. First child, margin left of 0 pixels, and then the same for the last child, and that we won't have a margin right. So now the margin is fixed, and we also have no extra spacing inside of our icon, which is really good. It was a little bit bad beforehand. Let's see. I now want to add a little bit more padding to our buttons or our footer action, and I want to add that in the root element, not the hover element. So I'm going to say padding of 3 pixels. So now when we hover over it, we can see that we have a nice little padding appearing on our buttons. So it looks really good. We have almost identically created the Reddit UI post with the icons being a little bit different. And I'm going to create the body of the post, which I will do in the next video. So I hope you could follow along. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!